Some stories are told because the world demands them. Others are told because silence has lasted too long. Tonight's story begins in the shadow of notoriety. Headlines, documentaries, jokes, and viral narratives. But it refuses to stay there. It asks a quiet question. What happens to families left behind? To the children who grew up inside fractures they didn't create? To the voices history forgets once the spectacle has moved on? This is not a story about crime. It's a story about inheritance. About the ways trauma moves through to generations. Sometimes it disguises as charm, ambition, or survival. And tonight, more than one voice enters the room. If you've ever wondered how truth changes depending on who is allowed to speak, or how healing begins when stories are told with care rather than judgment, this conversation is for you. This is Doyle. Welcome to Spirit Talk Show, Bedtime Stories for Grown-Ups, where we make room for complexity, memory, and stories that don't resolve neatly. Tonight, I'm honored to be joined by Debbie Snow, novelist, therapist, and the author of Paper Rose, a work of fiction inspired by her life, alongside a sister whose crimes became public spectacle. Rather than retelling what's already being consumed by the headlines and documentaries, Paper Rose does something braver. It asks how family systems are formed, how silence protects and damages, how histories, culture, trauma, and love shape the people we become, often long before we have language for it. We're also joined by Laurieann Hart, narrator of the audiobook, a voice actress, and someone whose own lived experience intersects this story in profound ways. Her presence reminds us that voice is never neutral and that who tells the story matters. This story isn't about villains or heroes. It's about witnessing. It's about telling the truth slowly. It's about what it means to reclaim the narrative agency after the world thinks it already knows your story. So wherever you're listening, settle in. This is Bedtime Stories for Grown-Up. I've been reading about your book, and I've been reading about your story, and it's, wow, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. I'm sure it's something that you've dealt with for many years, probably a lot more than we know.
Yes. Both of us, actually.
Yeah, I was researching, and I think I didn't grasp until tonight. I was researching that, Loriann, you're not just the narrator. You have some connection to this, right?
Yes, absolutely. I met Debbie's sister, Tracy, when our sons were in second grade.
Okay.
They're 29 years old now. And Tracy and I became fast friends. And with her family, our families got together. And, you know, if you have kids, you become friends with your kids' friends' families. And so that's what happened. And I became very close with her. And it's a very long, complicated story.
Well, yeah.
But I was hurt very badly by her. And years later, after I had been hurt by her, I realized that she was going back to prison.
Yeah.
And I looked up in, I think it was Instagram, saw that there was a group about her, Tracy, and that's how Debbie and I hooked up. And that's how it all started.
So when I'm going to come to you and ask you a question in 1 second, and Debbie, so you were reading a story that had a lot of personal, emotional impact, and what did it, Debbie? Why did you want to pick someone to narrate your story that was so emotionally invested in that way?
Well, the thing about Loriann, because I've gotten to be actually, you know, we weren't fast friends. It's kind of the opposite. We were just kind of like getting to know each other. It took a long time. Our friendship has been kind of a slow burn. But with Loriann, the thing about my sister's victims is they have the whole range of emotions. Like Tracy's emotions go from A to B.
Yeah.
Loriann's emotions go, I mean, just, I think that's the kind of person my sister's attracted to. So when I was thinking about getting a narrator, I thought, what better person? Because the voice, I don't know if you heard any of the narration, but it's fabulous. I mean, and the fact that Loriann knew my dad, and so when we get to the death scene, I mean, she's emotional, and she knew my sister. She knew exactly how to voice her, even though, this is based on a true story. It's not a true story. I think it made a huge difference, honestly. I almost cried when I first heard her reading chapter 1. I was just near tears.
So,
I fought it for a while. I didn't think that. Excuse me for interrupting.
Yeah, go.
I just she had to twist my arm because I was afraid that I would disappoint her. So I mean, I've done a lot of vocal work, but I've never really done a long book like this.
Yeah.
And so it was daunting to me, but it came very easily. So a real labor of love before, during, and after.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Seems like so. Deborah, this is this book you wrote called Paper Roses, right? Paper Roses, did I say it right?
Yes.
It's not about, I think notably, it's not about the minutiae of court and what happened and the crimes. It's about, I think you approached it in a different way. It's about, it's about more of the, would you say it's more about the family connection or what it means to your family and how the trauma stays in your family?
Yes. Oh, for sure. Because, if you're going to tell Tracy's story has been told over and over again. And I think in terms of the personality, it's kind of like rinse, wash, and repeat. It's the same thing over and over again. And it's really not that interesting to most people, once you get the basic sensationalism story. And I think that what I care about and what means something to me and hopefully to the readers is how did this happen? And, going back a couple of generations to see, to kind of like untangle some of that. And what I'm hearing back from readers is that they get a real empathy for Tracy. And even though some of these characters aren't likable at all, they understand, in the end, they understand why they did what they did.
Okay, so you knew Tracy obviously as a child, right? So was there signs her whole life that this is the kind of person she was, or could you always tell the directions that she was going?
Yeah, I mean, I think like as a little kid, like of course, hindsight's 2020, but as a little kid, she wasn't easy to attach to. She didn't have like Loriann has the range of emotion. She didn't have a lot of emotion, a lot of smiles, she just was very attention seeking.
Yeah.
But she wasn't an evil person. I mean, none of that horrible behavior really started till adolescence, but she was just mechanical, I would say.
Okay. The reason your story like resonates with me, my uncle was a notable figure in Ireland that died in prison, and it really has affected the trauma of my family because my mother watched him. He died on hunger strike. He died over 68 days, and she watched him die. And it definitely affected the trauma of our family, and it connected the force of our family over the next, I'm living 7,000 miles away because of the probably related to family trauma. That's why it resonated with me. But I was going to ask you, Loriann, so you knew her when your kids were, so was she in the midst of what she was doing at that time? Like, was she was pretending to be someone? Like, did you know her as somebody else?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Tracy, especially in those days, we're talking, gosh, more than 20 years ago, was a knockout to look at.
Okay.
And she was very flamboyant and had this little girl talk way of speaking, and just as sweet as she could be, and loved everybody, and I was the greatest thing that ever happened in her life, and nobody could top me, and so she gets you into her web, and you like it there. But then I found out later on, she came to me, she called me and said, I need to talk to you. So I met her at a restaurant locally here in the Pacific Palisades, and she told me that the feds were after her. I'm like, wait, what?
Wow.
What? And they took, they confiscated all the computer stuff and cell phones and everything in the house. And I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I knew that I only knew her as successful in business, but not totally clear on what she did. But she was a hard worker, and she swore up and down she was as innocent as she could be. And I was like, well, there's got to be a mistake, and we'll get to the bottom of this. And it took a long time to peel the onion, but finally realized that she was not who she purported to be.
It's scary
at all.
It's scary to think. It can't help me think about my friends who are really nice, and do you really know anyone? But it's scary to think the people that are like family in your life. My best friend is sitting here beside me, and we always jokingly talk about the long con, because one day it's all fake. You're doing it for some, but Debbie, you chose to write this as fiction, not a memoir. So what did fiction allow you to explore that nonfiction couldn't?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked it that way. The thing about fiction, because I'm a big lover of fiction, is you get some emotional truth, by moving the chess pieces around a little bit. And I think if you do memoir, at least for me, I would have been so slavishly addicted to trying to tell the truth, every single bit of the truth.
Yeah.
It would have taken everything out of the story. I don't think it would have been as good. It just would have been my opinion.
So when did you... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, I think by moving those chess pieces around, and like, for example, there's a scene in which the sister has to go to juvenile hall. Well, that never happened. That was kind of like wish fulfillment, right? She goes to juvenile hall. The ending, right? The ending, of course, never happened that way. So it was kind of very healing to be able to move these chess pieces around and have conversations that never took place.
Probably.
To go back to the 1940s when I was obviously not there.
Probably.
So it was very, very healing.
It was probably cathartic to be able to see how things should have gone and what should have happened. That probably was very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So when
it might
go ahead.
It might be important for you to know that from what I said earlier, that was when I first met her. And she went to prison for about, I don't know, almost 7 years. And I was not in touch with her that whole time. Her husband called me and talked to me for nearly 3 hours and told me all of these lies that she had told me in our friendship. And I didn't want to have anything to do with her. When she got out of prison, she called me. And I was dumbstruck. And she ended up moving into a house that we built that's on our property, 12,000 square foot house in the Palisades, with her daughter, and lived there for 9 months free. And all the while she was telling me what a piece of crap my husband was, she was seducing him. And so that's where the pain came. I didn't know that until the end. And she was trying to take advantage of using the house. She has a friend actually who's a very important, if you will, madam in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to me, she wanted to use that house as a place for men to come and be entertained.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so she was, but she got me in her web again. She's really good at it.
So, hey, sorry, can we pause for a technical reason for a second? Debbie, I'm getting a lot of noise from your mic still. And
Oh, okay. So you think I should just
it got worse. Yeah.
Okay, so I can move it back.
Oh, that's better now. Oh, that's great. That's so much better right there.
Okay, good. I moved it back. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, because I was going to say, Loriann, is my own spouse did have some impropriety with a good friend of mine, so I understand the person who I thought was a friend, and they're married today, so they might be listening.
Oh, wow.
So they're married today, so that I understand
that hurts.
It
hurts.
It's
really painful.
It's a place.
The betrayal is incomprehensible.
Yeah. So it sounds like did they end up getting together? I don't know if this.
No, actually, my husband saw through her right away, and we're still together. I mean, we've been together for over 35 years. The marriage was never wonderful. And so the fact that he was attracted to her was not surprising. I think it was really easy for any man to be attracted to her, especially the way she dressed and the way she threw herself around. Of course, with me, she was poly purebred. So all of this was going on behind my back.
Yeah.
And that was very painful.
It's scary to think.
Something about her that she's a different person. Like, we had a Zoom call, Loriann orchestrated a Zoom call around the time I was finishing the book. And it's like she's unknowable because she's a different person. Every single person that had been a victim, there were 4 people. Mm-hmm. There's actually way more than 4 people. There's probably 400 people. But there were 4 people, and they each told their story. And every single person had a completely different version of my sister. Almost like, and she was very careful that these stories never met up with each other, right?
Yeah.
That, for one person, she was poly perfect soccer mom. For another person, she was, working with a madam. For another person, she was this great victim of domestic abuse. So everyone got a completely different version. So I think it is hard to ever really know. I don't know if anyone is ever going to know the full scope of what it is that she's done in her life.
Well, she's probably still being that person. I've worked in a prison, a women's prison, and I do see them being different. They are different people. They do have different relationships than the prisoners with you. And so she's probably still being that person today. She's still in prison currently, right?
No, they let her out early.
Oh, she's out. And so
this is at least the third time that she was sent to prison, and it was the most egregious of crimes. And yet she did less time than in any of the times, which shows you how screwed up our judicial system is.
So you said egregious a crime. You didn't want to say what the crime was. What was the crime?
She stole over $3 million from a woman named Jumana Kidd. She stole from a lot of people leading up to this, but she actually cleaned out Jumana's children's trust funds for 529 plans, college funds, and used the money while she was buttering her up and telling her what a wonderful woman she was and working for her. She was taking advantage of the ability to get into her bank account, and she actually used the money for going on lavish vacations, yachting all over the place. And then she opened up 2 restaurants. She has one restaurant right now that's still open in Phoenix called Breakfast Bitch.
Wow. Is she, do either of you have any contact with her today?
No.
She's a dangerous, in my opinion, and I don't mean dangerous like she's going to come after us and kill us. Of course, nothing, I'm telling you, nothing, the bar is in hell, so there's really nothing that would surprise me. But she's a dangerous person to get to know because she's so convincing that she has a way to get you to come back and drink from the same poison trough. Extremely convincing. And as a relative, I want to believe. And then, Loriann, you want to believe too, don't you? I mean, that's how your personality is. So she's not...
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought she came to me... Well, there was two television shows about this. One on American Greed and one on ABC Hulu. in which Debbie and I were interviewed at length, as well as Jumana Kidd. And, she gravitates toward women who are spiritually very strong and who are givers and who want to help others, be of service to others. And she preys on people like them. And that's how Jumana and I are. And she actually tries to emulate people like that. But all the while, she just can't quite get there because there's a sociopathic link to her that will not. She doesn't know how to be empathetic. She doesn't know how to be how she thinks she wants to be.
And probably
she always gets in her way.
And probably plays that she does very well. Wow, I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that this conversation was going to emotionally hit me so much. But let me ask you, because I think of the people I know, and I think of people who've taken advantage of me and how they've done it, and it makes me think like, oh my gosh. But so when you started writing this book, Debbie, was there a point when you knew this book wasn't just about your sister? It was about something larger, like generationally?
Yeah, I think my intention was to write it about the generational trauma, narcissistic abuse, multi-generational trauma, narcissism in families. Of course, I didn't call it that because, it's fiction. It's supposed to be entertaining. So I don't think I used the word narcissist once in the book.
No.
But my intention was to write about betrayal. The whole theme of the book was about betrayal.
Yeah.
And so every single chapter running from the very beginning carries that theme through, whether it's a character in 1941 Morocco, whether it's a mother and a daughter, that theme of betrayal. And it's resonating with people, and I did want to talk about, I wanted to get there. Eventually I get to Tracy, or a character like Tracy. People have to be patient with me because I don't want the sensation. I didn't want this sensationalism. I wanted the story of why and how.
Yeah.
I'm a marriage and family therapist. I studied psychology. That's always been I always want to know why people do what they do and why people become who they are.
I wanted to ask you, as a therapist, how did you navigate writing about family trauma without pathologizing the people inside it? Like, how did you navigate that?
That was 9 different drafts.
Okay.
because I think in the beginning, because Loriann and Jumana were with me from the beginning, we were texting like crazy until Tracy was convicted and started her prison time. It was like every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really getting stuck. I was kind of like getting stuck in the flypaper. You get stuck in the emotional part, and there's anger, and it's really messy.
Yeah.
It's not something really conducive to writing fiction or even conducive to writing, with empathy.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to work through all of that before I could produce something that had enough distance and that really had enough care for each of the characters, where empathy and understanding. But I had to get there, and it was not easy. And I'm proud because, Kirkus Reviews gave me a buy it review,
Wow.
And people are telling me that it is remarkable that I didn't turn her or anybody else in my family into she-devils.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't mean to make this my personal therapy session, but how do we hold compassion without excusing harm in this situation? In situations like this? Because it seemed like you did that with the book. You hold compassion, yeah.
When you've been the one to be harmed, and not only that, this person, my sister, continues to wish me harm.
Yeah.
And as most sociopaths do, project everything bad about themselves into the person that they hate. So I'm that person. Mm-hmm. That's tough. It's almost like you have to hold space and say, I have empathy for the child. Yeah. I have empathy for the child she was. And I will see her when we're gone from this life.
Yeah.
She's always going to be my sister. And I will see her then. And in that place, we're all going to be understanding and compassionate and caring. But for now, I can't. But that doesn't mean I don't feel sadness for what happened to her.
Yeah. So, Loriann, I'm really want to explore a little bit about your being the narrator and inhabiting the voices that you and these people that were personal experiences. How did that affect you emotionally?
It was, as I said, a real labor of love. It was never, it took many months, but it was never a drag. It was always, every moment I really enjoyed. First of all, the writing is exquisite. The way Debbie puts her words together is nonpareil. It's really great. I mean, you'd never know this is her first novel. Yeah. I mean, it's fabulous. So I was very proud to be able to represent the book in that way. I learned a lot from it because, of course, Tracy gave me a completely different background of her growing up. And she absolutely abhorred Debbie. And of course, I couldn't make a judgment call. I met Debbie's son when he was little, and he couldn't have been cuter. Yeah. But I had never met Debbie, and I certainly didn't form any opinion. But she was so vehemently against Debbie that I was very pleasantly surprised when I met her and found her to be so warm and have so much depth. And so to represent her words, her feelings, and to characterize or portray people in her family, her mother, her father on his deathbed. I did Tracy when she was 4, and when she was an adult, Tracy's children. I mean, it was, because they were like family to me anyway, it was very deep. And I got very, 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 very emotional at certain times.
Imagine it, very hard to tell the voice of someone who hurt you deeply. That must be very challenging. So I want to take a few minutes to do our podcast is a storytelling podcast. We do love your story, but we also write stories about our guests, right? So we'd like to take a few minutes to read. We did research on Debbie, and we wrote one on you too, Loriann. But I'd like to take a few minutes to write how he's going to read a short story that we wrote based on your work and your life, Debbie. Indulge us for a second. Okay, here he is.
Debbie Show did not write Paper Roses to... tribute story, the courage to tell it differently is what it's called. Debbie Show did not write Paper Roses to correct the record. She wrote it to deepen it. When the world reduced her sister to headlines and punchlines, Debbie chose slowness. She chose lineage over spectacle. She chose to ask not what happened, but what shaped us. This book doesn't point fingers. It traces roots. By giving voice to the overlooked, the nanny, the parents, the child who watched, Debbie reminds us that no story begins where the camera turns on. Every act is preceded by context, by silence, by survival strategies learned too young. And then there's Loriann, lending breath, cadence, restraint. Her narration doesn't dramatize pain, it honors it. She becomes a vessel, not a performer. Together they do something rare. They tell the truth without demanding judgment. They let grief coexist with love. They refuse to flatten a family into a headline. This is not a story about infamy. It is a story about reclamation.
What do you think of that?
Wow, that's gorgeous. That's so beautiful and touching. Thank you. And I think you really, really hit the nail on the head. I mean, Debbie and I are like sisters now. And it brought us so closely together. And, the whole experience was one I'd never, ever forego.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. And I've grown immensely from the experience. And I've been able to reconcile a lot more. So it's been an overall total joy. We were just talking today and wondering, it's funny because we've gotten to a point in our relationship where we rarely talk about Tracy. But I did mention today, I said, I wonder what Tracy's thinking about the book. And, I think she would be surprised if she read it to find that she's not vilified, really. She's not made out to be an absolutely awful human being. And there's a lot of kindness in which Debbie wrote this. So, it'd be interesting to know if Tracy ever does read it. And, I'm sure she's absolutely floored that I did this with Debbie.
Yeah.
I mean, what? The sister I hate and my ex-best friend. But.
So what do you think, Debbie, you were going to say?
The part about the last line about reclamation, that was perfect.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Because it is about reclaiming your identity. And also, I think Loriann got to do it too, because I don't think with betrayal and narcissistic abuse, man, that takes decades because there's gaslit so much and you blame yourself and you don't know what end is up anymore. And it's painful. I mean, a lot of people have experienced it. I'm not the only one. Loriann's not the only one.
Yeah.
You're not the only one. But we helped each other heal. This whole last, I would say, at least 6 months. Wouldn't you say, Loriann, that you're healed from what Tracy did?
Oh, totally. I mean, but I have to say, before I hooked up with you and Jumana, I was still crying every time I thought about what happened. So it was the three of us getting together and putting the pieces of the puzzle together that really, really helped. And then in narrating this book and understanding more about, even though it's a fiction, but a lot of it rings true about how you were raised by your mother, Moroccan mother, who wanted to so badly be a Jackie Kennedy knockoff, and your father, who was the sweetest man in the world, but was an addict. So, there's no wonder that, children can go in either way.
So I wanted to ask you, Debbie, about how writing about your parents' perspective changed how you understood them.
Very good question. I think going back to Morocco really helped. And starting out with what my mom went through during her childhood, what my dad, how they met, it's all there in the book. My dad's issues, my mom's issues, it really humanized them. Because if I was actually to put some of the things, let's say I was writing a burn it all down memoir. And, what is that book? Mommy Dearest, right? Let's say I was going to do the Mommy Dearest thing. I could have, and it would have made my parents look like absolute monsters. But I think by doing it this way, it really humanized them. Because people aren't just monsters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even people who seem like they're monsters, they are just people in the end of the day.
Well, that's the way I look at it. I don't think that there is truly any totally evil person. I think that, everybody has a little good in them, and some more than others. But it has a lot to do with what you bring with you when you come into this world. And I really believe that parents have a huge responsibility to help hone the the great attributes in their children and tamp down the ones that aren't great. But I don't think that Debbie's parents did that. And therefore, the kids got lost.
Yeah. They were incapable of it because their parents couldn't give that to them. So that was like
right.
Understanding the multi-generational trauma. And then the word reclamation, I love that word. This is going to be my new word now.
So
that stops the cycle in a way. If you can reclaim yourself and stop the cycle, one branch always is brave enough, I think, to stop the cycle. The sad part is most of it just continues on the next generation.
I know it's with my family, but I wanted to ask you about that, the therapeutic process of writing the book. So were there patterns that you recognized after stepping back? Was there patterns you only recognized when you stepped back far enough when you had to write the book?
Yeah, there were times when I would spend the morning writing and then it would take my breath away.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, that would be the biggest aha moment, right? It would just take my breath away. I'm not saying it was the best writing in the world. Like I said, there were 9 drafts. But there were times when I was like, oh, and especially writing fiction, right? Because you could really explore, you could really be creative in a way that you can't be with memoir. And that it came out through the creativity part.
Okay. Wow, that's cool that they seems like there's such therapeutic benefit in the writing and living your story. And I didn't know you're from Morocco. That's new information to me, that you went there to kind of like live that generational, to own that generational knowledge and stuff. That's really cool. I'm originally from Ireland, and my family lives in Ireland, and so I live over here now. And there's definitely.
Oh yeah, we are.
Well,
half Irish.
My married name is Flaherty, and I come from the Monaghan's and the Conways from Galway.
Well, my mother's maiden name is from the area, Galway and Mayo. Her maiden name is Stagg, and Doyle is actually my last name. I have.
Okay.
I use that name like Cher, one name, because unfortunately my full name is that person. People share my full name who've done some bad things. So, and one of them's a radio host. So I don't want to be associated with this radio host with this name.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you.
Sure.
I'll tell you what it is off air. I don't want to say it on air.
Okay.
I'm sure people know. I'm sure people know because when I post on Facebook, it posts as me, which is my full name. But my professional name is Doyle on the show. But so yeah, definitely. And the Doyles are from the Doyle name, which is Duvgal in Gaelic, which means dark stranger, which is a Viking name. And so that comes from the south of Ireland. My dad's. Okay.
I hate to interrupt, but Loriann and I both sing, and we think the singing comes from the Irish. I think Irish people are the best singers. I swear to God.
Well, I sing both. Both Howie and I are on a men's chorus in the Sacramento Gay Men's Chorus. We're both singers, and I definitely. A lot of singing in Ireland, a lot of pubs you go to.
Oh, yeah.
Singing is part of the culture and stuff.
Something about the Irish tenor.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I come from a family of singers on the Irish side, too.
So Debbie, did telling the story change your relationship with the public narrative, with your sister's public narrative? Did it change her public narrative at all?
I thought it would. Okay.
Yeah.
My hope was that being the truth teller, right?
Yeah.
Would get through to other people in the family. Like, I mean, somehow, Stuart Saves the Family from Saturday Night Live. That it was being the truth teller was gonna change things.
Yeah.
And it seems like everybody that reads the book takes away something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like what they're ready to hear, what they're ready to believe or feel.
Okay.
So I don't think it changed anything. I hope I answered that question right.
Yeah. Well, going back to your therapy, what does healing look like when resolution isn't possible?
Acceptance.
acceptance.
Yeah, just being comfortable with ambiguity. Comfortable is so hard because I work with teenagers and I hear all the time it's so hard for them to accept the injustice and all the things happening in the world, and they take it on.
There's a lot of people
And
they hold on to, they want resolution, and that's the thing, the carrot they hold on to, they can't let go, and it causes them so much personal pain.
That was my problem as a child. Honestly, that was why I was so vilified. Like, I had to have justice. Like, I was the kid, like, wait a minute, this is wrong.
Yeah, a lot of people stay in that space, and sometimes it's not. My own dad is, I don't want to use that N word again, but I can't get resolution with my relationship with him because this is who he is, right? He's not going to change. He's 84 in actually 10 days. Wow. He's not going to change, but so there's no resolution there. So a long time ago, I've had to heal. So, and sorry, Dad, you listen to this show. So I love you.
Well, you do. I think that when you're so deeply hurt by somebody, it hurts you to the quick, and you do also you don't know which way to go. Did I do something that caused this in any way, shape, or form, or why me? Or, and I think you have to get out of the victim mode.
Yeah.
And you have to accept what happened. Remember, this is your journey. Learn from it and realize that this should not define you.
And maybe that's the step. They say that when you don't forgive someone, the only victim is yourself. But maybe that's the step. You can step out of that, when you let it go.
Exactly.
You let it go and you're healed, even though you can't heal the person you can't save. So, wow.
Can I tell I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I tell you a funny story that's
please.
related to this?
Yes.
Okay. So somebody who read my book was like, oh my God, I know you. And so the story made me feel so sad. And this is so sad because I know a lot of this really happened. And I said to them the other day, I said, you know what? The people you always hear about, like some guy gets wrongfully convicted and they spend 30 years in jail. And then the DNA proves that they didn't do it. And they get out of jail. They never get out and say, I'm so bitter, my life was ruined. They get out and say, I'm so grateful to have this chance to live the rest of my life. They could be like 60 years old, and they still always come out saying the same thing, talking about the future and not dwelling on the past. It's really interesting how that happens.
Well, probably because they had resolved to the hopelessness of their life, and then there was light at the end of the tunnel that they didn't think was possible. So it's cool. I mean, I'm sure they're still a little bitter, and I think a lot of them get a lot of compensation, so they're financially okay, but I think it's
that's true.
So so Debbie, what do you hope the readers sit with after the final page? Not conclusions, but questions. What do you think? What do you hope they sit with?
Well, I hope, this is a big hope because every reader is different, but I'm hoping it will help people reclaim their own lives. And maybe come to some kind of peace. Because this is a very common, I didn't really realize how common sibling abuse is.
Yeah.
People write about parents abusing their kids all the time. Siblings can be so different. It can be night and day. They only share, 25% of their DNA.
Yeah, and it can be hard when my brother, we were really close till 11. I don't know what happened, but he became kind of abusive after that. I have no idea what happened at 10, 11. And so you remember the fun times, and then becomes this different per person. That's very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, what is your message, Debbie? What's the last message as we're closing down here we're winding down? What's the message you want people to know? What should they take? How should they move on tomorrow and take this message?
Yeah, I'm just right now. This is so poignant. I'm so full of emotion right now, just talking to you. It's hard to come up with a final message. It's going to even...
It's okay.
It's going to even mean anything. I hope that people are helped by this.
Yeah.
So I can't say anymore. I'm too emotional. This has been a very wonderful, wonderful conversation.
And Loriann, do you have anything?
Well, I think what I said before, that if you have this kind of pain in your life, or you've been victimized by somebody who you had faith in, and you were completely duped by, that hurts a whole lot. But what you really, the only way to heal, I think, is to have change your mindset, and get out of the victim mode, because that makes you so vulnerable and powerless. You need to just take it by the bootstraps and go, okay, this happened, and it's not completely about me. It's mostly about them. And I've learned from it, and I'm going to let it go like a balloon. It happened. It was. It's not now. Let it go.
Well, yeah, I thank you so much. This thing that takes me aback is that I didn't know how a deep place it was going to touch me and the experiences. How this conversation, I've obviously have lots of conversations. This is one of those rare conversations that is reaching into a deep place from probably some of my lived experiences, and it's a mixture of, I'm glad I'm being seen and I'm being heard, but it's also terrifying to think there's people in your life right now that you believe are this person, right? I hope this person is sitting beside me is one of them. Sorry, I didn't mean to make light of it. But this fear that there's this person that you just want to love, because I have such a positive outlook about people, and that people can be so vicious and violent and take so much and take advantage of your heart in that way, and that I didn't know that was going to affect me so deeply. Wow. And it resonated with a lot of my experience.
I wanted to say something about that, because when you're a child, you depend on your parents, and you make up a story about them. You just don't want to believe, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to believe it about your sister either. And I have another sister that I didn't put in the book. I wanted to give her privacy. And she's having such a hard time believing, right? Just having such a hard time letting go. And will forever believe in the redemption story of, my sister Tracy. And the thing is that I don't think you're ever really free until you face the truth.
Well, the one thing about this story that I didn't really think of till today, when you told me about your sister's out and she's living in the world right now. So she's potentially doing this right now to somebody else.
Probably.
For sure.
And that
It's very, we have always expected her to go back to her old ways. And, something you have to think about too, is that when you're a felon, it's hard to get a job. And Tracy really, really loves the high life. So she's very, very smart, and she figured out a way to live the high life on other people's money.
Well, you said she owned a restaurant, or that restaurant is still open. It's not that she owns it still.
Well, she does. She owns it, and but she used Jumana's money as seed money for 2 restaurants. She double-crossed Jumana after Jumana gave her a second chance. And so that's really sick,
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's a fascinating and a really unbelievable story in many ways. Not to confuse the book with that, though, because the book isn't about that.
Okay. So
the book is much more about family and why we end up the way we do, and how influential our family was in the beginning. So, But I would like to say I really enjoyed narrating this book, and I was able to portray, as I said, a 4-year-old little girl to an 80-year-old man and several Moroccan characters. And I would love for people to listen to it, because I'm really proud of the different accents that I've done, and I want people to listen and I'd like to get some feedback.
Okay, so this book is called Paper Roses, and the author's name is Debbie Show. Is that the author's name?
Debbie Show. Yes, it's SHOW.
To Debbie Show, so you can get this book presumably in all bookstores and Amazon. Is it available in Audible?
Yes, it's available in Audible. We have a couple, it's for sale right now. There's a couple little repeats we're trying to get out. That's going to take another week for a sentence or two repeated in the entire book. But it's for sale on Audible and Barnes & Noble and Spotify. If people have a Spotify subscription, they can listen to it with their, 15 hours a month on Spotify.
Wow, great. Well,
She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing.
Well, I think that's a rare partnership, and you guys, I've had some book narrators on, and it's a skill. And I know I couldn't imagine reading 12 hours of reading or something, 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine.
It's about a little over 11 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine.
But as I said, it took months and months. I mean, you don't know. And you listen to an audiobook and you think, oh, well, they're just really good readers. But no, there's a lot of edits.
Yeah,
a lot of tripping over words, a lot of redos.
Yeah, I usually publish this show as is. The only time I do edits is when sometimes I'll re-say sentences in the intro because I want the intro to be correct. But the conversation is published as is. There's no edits. We don't do any edits in there. I want it to be authentic and real. But I know in doing the audio, it's like you say, "Oh, that was such a good take, but I messed up one word," and then you feel like and then the second time you do it, you realize I'm saying it differently, and so why am I doing it different this time? Because so, but this was very nice. I think I had a great time in this conversation, and I would love to continue this conversation a little bit more. But thank you both for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me. I know that this is Debbie's glory, and she deserves it. So I mean, she really deserves it. But I'm very, very honored that I was included. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for your work and what you do. It's always, I love talking to people who have a talent that they give to the world like that. Maybe that's what I'm doing right now. But thank you.
It is what you're doing. I think everybody. Okay, so my little soapbox on this is that now that I'm older and I have the resources and the money and the time, because I'm retiring in June, I get to do this stuff. I mean, I can't imagine people working 2 jobs these days trying to pay for their $400 car repair bill that they can't afford, or their insurance, being able to be creative. And it makes me sad that people can't always reach their potential.
And do you live in the Palisades too, or do you live in a different part of the country?
I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay. So
Loriann almost lost her house, by the way.
We're in
yes, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, we're in Sacramento, and I used to live in Santa Monica, so I used to babysit for people. I used to go to the Palisades all the time, so I know the Palisades. So you almost lost your house, but you didn't. You still have.
Right. My husband, we built this house over 35 years ago, and he always said if there was a fire that the house would not burn. And so I took, but I was uncomfortable. We were, we needed to evacuate. So I took my black lab and my 29-year-old son, some bottles of water and some of my meds, and that's it. And we left. And I thought I'd be back the next day, but lo and behold, it turned into something catastrophic. Yet my husband stayed. He refused to leave, and he helped put out the fires with the firemen and saved about 5 houses on our portion of the block, including our house.
Yeah, I know.
And
well, yes. So some people turn the sprinklers on and leave, and they're squirting their house for days and days and days. Probably a fortune in water, but I know we have house insurance, but I would hate to start navigating how to get that, because I know people in Paradise.
Oh, it's been tough for a lot of people.
Are still.
There's very, very little rebuilding so far.
Yeah, because people are still fighting homeowners insurance from Paradise, and that's what it's probably close to 8 years.
Yeah,
ago
the Palisades looks really like I went to Palisades High. Okay, I mean I'm talking this has been home for a long time, and we lost our community. That's the worst part, and the sweetness of our village that will resurrect, but only in a very grandiose kind of way, and will never have the charm that it had, because it really looks like we were bombed in a lot of the areas.
Wow.
It's devastating.
There was a fire up close to where I live in Gold Country, and when you first drove in after the fire was gone, it looked like a nuclear bomb had gone off. It was
Yeah, that's how it looks.
It was devastating. It was
Totally
devastating, and I don't think people know the theft of your spirit that happens when your community is scarred like that. But
yeah, I mean, it's just not only losing your home and your possessions, but you're losing your community. I mean, I went to Pilates the day before, and who would have known that would be the last time I'd see most of those people ever again, because they'd all be having to leave and go someplace else because they lost their homes. Wow. People that I felt very close to. So it's a huge loss in many factions. And
I think about it. My house is in an area that has for fires that maybe everybody in California has that. So I think about it. And you Debbie, live in the Bay Area, and the fact is there's an earthquake that's been overdue for quite a while, a big one. So I know there's a.
I remember the '89. I was around for the '89 earthquake. Oh. Yeah. So.
Well, we're always worried about it down here in the South too.
Well, yeah, I used to live in Huntington Beach. I know the South. I lived in Santa Monica too, so I know.
Yeah,
so
I
know down there. I mean, to be honest, I miss. I like SoCal. I wish I still lived there, but I mean, I love where I live too. But hey, what? Thank you for coming on, you both.
Thank you so much. It's just been a little slice of heaven talking with you both, and I think that we all got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you tell me if this is going to air?
So we can talk about that. I wanted to ask you, because how did you hear about my show? Because you didn't come to me the normal way. You came to me through an email.
Okay, I'm going to be really honest with you, is I hired a publicist who helped me find the shows. I mean, I could lie to you and say that but I'll tell you something. I love your show.
Yeah, great.
I absolutely love. I was telling Loriann, I said, just the whole idea of a show that just talks about the spirit. That's all about, Lori's all about that too.
Yeah.
Just about the spirit and connecting. And I also love what you wrote about my book. That it wasn't just about so many people want to hear about the New York Times stuff, the demonic kid stuff. And you
I value connection, and the generational reclaiming is a lot more valuable. I mean, I'm a little nosy too. I want to hear all the dirty details, of course, but I mean I can find that out probably by looking online. And actually, Howie has been looking on his phone as we've been talking here about looking up some of the people. So I can find that out easily myself. But to understand your perspective of the generational healing, that comes from you, and that's more important from you. So
yeah.
So hey.
And your partner who's behind the scenes there, did he write what he read to us?
No. So what we do is wait, you're getting some mic a connection with your hair there. Sorry. What we do is we research you. We kind of write a bare bones story ourselves, and then we kind of write it a first few drafts, and then we kind of put it in AI to kind of polish it up. So it's partially created by AI and partially created by us. So
well, I just wanted to acknowledge him too. So thank you.
Howie.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you got to hear the sultry voice of Howie when he gets his job. He gets the. I'll turn the mic here a little bit, camera. You can see.
Oh, there you are.
And it's funny you called him my partner. He wishes.
It's just like Loriann to acknowledge everybody.
Okay, well, that was nice. I was going to say it's funny you called him my partner. He wishes. So okay.
We're going to leave it at that, okay?
I should say. Okay. Well, thank you so much, and it was a pleasure.
You have a great evening, you guys.
Have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
As we close tonight, I'm struck not just by the story that was told, but how it was held. Debbie chose to write slowly, carefully, refusing spectacle in favor of understanding, and Loriann chose to speak with the same care, reminding us that voice is not about presence, but about responsibility. Together they show us that storytelling is not a solo act. It's a collaboration between memory and breath, between what is written and how it is carried. In a culture that rushes to define, judge, and move on, this conversation invites us to linger, to listen without trying to fix, to witness without claiming ownership of someone else's pain. If there's something in the story that resonated with you, a silence, a pause, a truth you didn't expect, trust that. Some stories don't ask to be resolved. They ask to be honored. Tonight reminds us that healing doesn't always arrive through answers. Sometimes it arrives through voice, steady, careful, and human. Speaking just loudly enough to be heard. Thanks for spending time with us. Now go make a story worth telling.